Your rental property should always be filled with a qualified tenant. In this video, I'm going to show you how to keep your rental property cash flowing with a good tenant. Hi, I'm Devron and welcome to my channel where we talk everything real estate. I'm a real estate investor. I own multiple rental properties and have wholesale and flipped over $10 million worth of real estate. As a new landlord, you may be wondering, how in the world am I supposed to get my rental filled with a qualified tenant? Or worse, what if I get a horrible tenant? It's normal to have these thoughts, especially if you're a new landlord or real estate investor. Luckily for you, there's no reason to fear. With these tips I'm about to share with you, you will know how to get your rental filled with a qualified tenant. If you find value in this video, please give it a thumbs up. It definitely helps. One way to keep your rental filled is to actually buy in heavy populated markets. This is important because you want to be able to have a large renters pool to choose from. The more renters you can choose from, the better opportunity you have of getting a qualified tenant. Most times, these populated markets have a lot of jobs to offer individuals. And this is great for you as the landlord because you want to find a tenant that has a good, decent, quality job. Another way to make sure that your rental has a quality tenant is to make sure you have in your rental contract a 60-day notice clause. This clause is very important because it ensures that your current tenant gives you a 60-day notice to let you know that they are moving out. It puts you in a better position to be prepared and to be more successful in finding a good qualified tenant. You also need to be stern with your requirements. And what I mean by requirements are basically your move-in requirements. For example, this can be a certain credit score that you must have in order to move into your rental, whether or not you allow pets, the actual move-in fee, if you require a first, last, and deposit, which is normal in some markets such as Florida. It is extremely important to stick with your requirements because then you'll be able to filter out all the tenants that you don't want versus the tenants that you do want. Another way to find good quality tenants for your rental is to actually take the time to vet your tenants. And what I mean by this is actually taking the time and the energy to make sure that whatever they put on that application is true. You will be surprised of how many potential tenants will lie on their applications and put down that they work a certain place or they've lived a certain place. It happens all the time. Actually take the time to call that last place that they lived or call their job to make sure that whatever they put on the application is true. Most times, they're going to put down a friend or family member as their boss or as their landlord because they know that the last place they lived or worked didn't end so well. This next reason or this next way to find a good quality tenant is actually speaking from experience. Never, ever, ever take a tenant that is in a desperate situation. If they're so desperate and in a hurry to move in, you need to be cautious. In fact, I would advise you run the other way because they're gonna have a long, drawn out, weird excuse of why they're in a situation to where they need to move in now. Lastly, one way to make sure that you have a good quality tenant is to not always choose the potential tenant that is willing to pay over your rental rate. I advise you to go with the tenant that meets all of your requirements versus the tenant that is willing to pay above your rental rate. Because 10 times out of 10, that tenant that meets all of your requirements is going to be the tenant that stays with you long term and is going to be a better quality tenant. The potential tenant that is willing to pay over your rental rate is going to be the tenant that does not meet all of your requirements or barely meet any of them. But to make up for that, they're going to offer you more money. And in the long run, it does not work out for you as the landlord. Instead, you'll be stuck with a tenant that can only afford the rent for a month or two, or will be moving out as soon as the lease ends. And then you're back at square one, turning the unit. So there you have it. Those are some ways to find a good quality tenant. If you enjoyed this video and got value from it, please make sure you like and subscribe.